Welcome to RenéMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm RenéMarie, and this is going to be a phenomenal show. We have a lot of family members, we call them, returning to tell their stories of where they are and how their lives have been since they've been on the show. And it's just going to be an extraordinary show, really loving to reunite with people that really have made an impact in our lives and in your lives as well with them on our show. Our co-host is Evan. We were friends since Madhouse TV. I used to think he used to do the show after us. It was after us, Evan? It was
right after you. Yep.
after us. So when you're in doing in a studio and you're the one person, you see them every week, and we did it every week on a Sunday at 1 o'clock. Our show was so traveling into Long Island was a little bit stressful, and traveling home was a little bit more stressful. Sometimes it took 3 hours, but when you love what you're doing, it really doesn't matter. You just get there no matter what.
Yep.
So, and then he's the one that went to Village Connection first. And we followed suit when Madhouse TV closed their studios. And Village Connection is, we said last on our last show that very, very heartfelt sadness that we lost Jim, who was the Village Connection founder. And I did a post on the website and on the Facebook, and really of memories of us. And it just brings to light how important life is and how valuable each single moment is. And Evan, do you want to share anything? Because I know you had a post about Jim, and it was really very, 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 very surprising and very heartfelt, very sad.
It was shocking because he was relatively young, and it was just came out of left field. And the beauty of Village Connection was it showcased a lot of independent talent of all genres: music, film, the arts, health, of course, with your shows and other shows, even pro wrestling, which I've covered. And it was just an open forum that allowed some people who never would have gotten that attention and showcase. And Jim was always warm and friendly, and he made it fun and loose. And it was a very very free form. And I've done radio and TV off and on for almost 35 years, and it's nice when something isn't rigid. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
just a very fun atmosphere. And you were talking about meeting up every week. In the green room there was always food, and your guests would mingle with my guests. It
Yeah.
was just
Yeah.
a really warm environment. The Village Connection Radio, and R.I.P. Jim Savali. Just yeah, he
He
showcased
never
a
said
lot of
no.
people.
He
Yeah,
never said no. He never said no. When we took our telethon, like that was really the first production that he did was our telethon. And I remember like Madhouse TV, closed for various reasons, and we were left without a production for our telethon. And I think it was you that connected us, and
yes,
and we met, and like he never said no. And with the grace of God, he was able to sit there. We did it for like 8 hours, one
yeah,
of
yeah,
our
yeah,
telethons. And he sat there with his back hurting him. He couldn't even move. And he sat there because he wanted to make sure it was perfect. And the prep for a telethon, Evan, it takes a lot of, videos and a lot of tracks and a lot of like, it's just intense. And it went off without a hitch. And he is going to be sorely missed, not only for that, but he was a dear friend who we connected, and we stayed close to make sure we supported each other and through everything. So he was,
And let me just add this: one, he was a veteran, and
yeah,
two, as you just stated, the guy was always in pain, always uncomfortable, and you really wouldn't know
yep,
because he was in that zone. He wanted your show to go well and my show to go well and all the
yep,
shows. And
yep,
yeah, so yeah, it's a loss. It's a
yeah.
loss.
We're gonna miss him. But he's with us. He's with us. He's guiding us. So thank you, Evan. Thank you about that. We'll get to your new publication in a few minutes. I just want to thank Judy Marlowe, for bringing these two guests to our show. She did a phenomenal job. Of course, everybody knows Judy retired. She was tired. I totally get it. it's a lot. It's intense to edit, to produce a show, to get people to schedule when people, when guests all of a sudden they can't come, and then she's got to reschedule and she's got to book, and it's just like playing chess. And she did a phenomenal job. Then she wrote the press, and then she read the press, and she was on the show. Intense. So we're grateful to Judy for everything she did. Before I forget, please purchase your tickets. Matthew's coming. I can't wait. On April 26, 2025 at the Yogi Berra Museum in Little Falls, New Jersey. We're doing my Unconditional Love concert, which I have been talking about doing forever. I'm really focused on making this a show that we're going to take on the road and bring hope to everybody through music and love and joy. And it's just going to be phenomenal. And we just got word this past week, or I think it was last Sunday, I can't even believe it, that Mark McEwen is coming live to the show. So he's going to be live. If you want to meet Mark, I never met anybody who has been so he's a great at what he did. He was a CBS weathercaster, and he was in the entertainment field. He has been with presidents and entertainers and high end, and but he's such a great everyday person who really makes it about you. So you're gonna love him, Mark. You're gonna love him, and I'm gonna. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to send a photo of you to him, because that's what I did when I first met him. What I did was I knew he was coming to Judy's run. He was doing a car show, and I knew Mark McEwen was coming, and I sent a photo of myself to him. So I said, Mark, I want to meet you. I'm going to be entertaining. He came and found me because I want, like, it's always about everybody else. So you're going to love him. He loves to support stroke survivors, and he's such an advocate. So I'm very excited, as everybody can tell, about Mark being present. We also have Maddie. She's I've drawn a blanket of her last name. If you go to the RenéMarie's Language of Love website, you'll see she was a swimmer. She was in college, a swimmer, really, on the way to being an Olympic swimmer. And she suffered a stroke, so she's going to be there as well. Matthew, you're going to love her as well. She brings hope to everybody. Actually, I'm going to send you. She's doing a live event before our show in New York. I'm going to send it to you when I remember. So you would love to go to that as well.
Sure.
So I can't wait. So I'll stop, because I could spend the whole hour talking about my concert. I'm so excited. And then we have JoAnn, who also, I don't know if I introduced you, Matthew. Matthew and JoAnn were brought to us by Judy in her investigations and stuff like that. Matthew, I think we were live. Weren't we live when we
Sure.
we were together at the Village Connection studio, I think.
Yeah, yep, exactly right too.
Yes, yes.
Maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. It was before COVID.
Yes.
COVID. So it had to
Okay.
be over
Wow.
6 years ago.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
I think, I don't know. And then we have JoAnn, who they both suffered strokes. Matthew and JoAnn both suffered strokes. JoAnn, she is a dear. I love her stories. I'm going to let them both tell their own stories in a few minutes, but she's got such big aspirations, and she loves to write, and she goes to this what is it called, JoAnn? It's like a workshop, a live workshop every year. And that's something I would love to do, to go into a workshop with writers, because I love to write, and I'm writing my book, which is a whole different baby, another book. So
you're more than welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's on one of my bucket lists, and I don't have a long bucket list, because I live my life every day as I want to. So let's begin. We're going to let JoAnn, and then we'll get to your book in a little bit, Evan, but we're going to let JoAnn share her story and what you've been doing since we last connected.
Well, my story in regards to the stroke started 28 years ago. And just a couple of weeks ago, February 27th, was the day that I had my stroke. It left me totally incapacitated. I couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't see. It took me probably almost 2 to 3 months before my hand started to move just a little bit. And from there, we started to work just as hard as we could. And I was blessed back to full health. But it took probably about 2 years to regain my strength where I felt almost, well, I can't even say normal. I don't think I've ever been.
It's a new road. It's a new road. It's a new road. It's a new path. Right, Matthew? It's a new path that we go down. And you know, everybody's got new paths, whether it's a stroke, a divorce, or financial, you know, or health, or whatever it is. Everybody every day has a new direction they have to go in. So
And that's a good point to bring up, because so many times people who have had a stroke get caught in wanting to be what they were before, and they fight against the new life that's there for them and try to bring back what may never come back. And that's, I think, what really makes it a struggle. And if you stop to think about it, our lives are always changing. They're always different, and we're always growing, and we're always trying new things. So don't stop trying now. You know, let yourself go down that road, because you never know what you'll become. I've met people who have had strokes who now are absolutely amazing artists. And they never realized that they had that capacity within them.
JoAnn, what were you doing as a profession when your stroke happened? And Matthew, I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, my husband and I had just retired 6 weeks before, or 6 months before the stroke. And we had moved from the Chicago area down to Florida. So we were kind of enjoying where we were. Now, I had spent 16 years before that working for Kelly's Services. And I went out on assignments, but I also had worked my way into management. And I had been chosen to work at Baxter Healthcare in human resources, which I absolutely loved. So when we came down here, we had a good time going around and trying and looking and seeing and just getting used to our neighborhood. And but it was time to start going out and doing things within the community. So I went over to Kelly's Services, and I had received a one-day assignment over at Tropicana. And I was fine, you know, went through the checklist in my mind that I always did before I took a new assignment. Got over there and met everybody, and was doing fine during the morning. And the gentleman I was working for came out, and he was very pale. He had had 13 people there for a full day workshop. And he came out, and apparently his secretary had forgotten to order lunch for them for that day. So there were 13 very hungry people in the other room. So I told him not to worry about it, that I'd go and take care of it. So he told me where he wanted me to go, gave me his card, and off I went. And while I was there, I ordered the lunches. And the gentleman happened to be, he was Oriental. And so when I walked up to pay for the lunches and asked, "How much do I owe you?" it came out sounding like Russian. And so he looked at me really strange, like, like he didn't know if I was making fun of him or what, and I felt really bad. And so I said it again, and the same thing happened. So I just handed him the card. And at that time, because my mother had had a stroke, and so I knew what the symptoms were, I realized that's what I was having as well. So I took a couple of the boxes and started to walk to my car, and he had some other people take the rest of them. And we got out there, and by the time I got to the trunk, my knees started to feel very weak. So I just went and sat down in the car, and by this time, my right hand had begun to lose any strength in it and just sat on the seat. I couldn't get it up. But I was only about maybe a mile and a half away from the office. And there was a huge place called the Red Barn that had burnt down a couple of weeks before. So I thought in my mind, if something really happened to me, I would just pull it in there and let people find me. So but I kept going, and I got back to the office, and when I walked in, the girl looked at me kind of funny, and I looked at the stairs going upstairs, and I thought, I can't do stairs. I know I can't. So I tried to call my husband and tell him what was going on. And so when I got in touch with him, my speech was still all garbled. I mean, obviously when you have aphasia, you don't talk like anybody else. And so there was this long silence. And pretty soon he said, "I'm sorry, I think you have the wrong number."
Oh,
And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So I just said no, and I came out really strong. He goes, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? And I said, I'm sick. Meet me at the hospital, not realizing we had 2 hospitals in town.
oh my gosh.
Well, then I looked back at my car sitting out there, and the car was still on. People were coming in from lunch, and I don't like crowds, that hang around. You gawk
Right.
that are there when something's wrong. So I thought, I'm going to drive myself. So I went and got in my car because it was only about maybe 4 or 5 blocks to the hospital. And I drove myself over to the hospital. And when I walked in, nobody paid any attention. I guess they were so used to the doors opening and closing, they just kept up with business. So as loud as I could, I just said, I think I'm having a stroke. And the nurse turned around and looked at me, and she said, she walked in here. And just then somebody grabbed me from behind under my shoulders, put me on a gurney, and that's the last thing I remember for a few months.
JoAnn, when you're telling the story, and I'm sure Matthew understands this, and Evan, I'm not sure how attached to a stroke you are, stroke situations, but the fact that you had the cognitive ability to think of what to do next while you're having a stroke is remarkable. Like you had an angel on your shoulder, because I could, when I had my stroke, I had an out-of-body experience, but my body was not able to adapt to that. Matthew, could you think when you were having your stroke?
Yeah, no, it's the I fall down too, and no speaking, nothing too. So got my brain too, but it's speaking out too, nothing. So and rushed me to 2 hospitals, and that's a scary thoughts too, in the hospital too. So it's devastating wise too, because you got the ambulance too, and me, and rushing to the hospital without my speaking wise too, and so to thank God, maybe have an angel too, and rush me to the surgery and the clot. It's and about the three chances too, uh and it got the third shot. The clot breaks off too in the my brain. But it's the devastating. It's the devastating too. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So Matthew, tell us, I mean, I know the story, but go
Sure,
back a little bit
sure,
to what you were doing prior to your stroke and how it happened, and
sure.
give us the synopsis of that.
Yeah, so I worked for local three electricians in New York City. About 4 or 5 months. I'm new, and so it's a pretty good job wise too. Central Station, working for Central Station, downstairs, 18 floors. But before that, I got the second open heart surgery to replace the valve again. Through 3.5 months, the doctors cleared me to work. And April 18th, 2018, 30 years old, I went to work, coming back to work, going to the locker room to my right side. It's a little bit weak wise too, and then maybe that's a concern too. I don't know, but I went to class at because I'm an electrician too. Um it's the but before that, it's not the journeyman. It's the going to class to eventually have a license to pursue another things in the
The
uh
electrician, be an electrician,
yeah,
you have to continue to stay educated in that field so that you
sure.
can be sure to stay compliant to everything, right?
Yeah, exactly right too. I'm apprentice too, so so and that's it too. So I clean the clothes and all that stuff, and I went to class, and go and waiting for the subway, and it's my leg. It's bothering me again too. So I went to class, and I collapsed, and rushed me to two hospitals, and diagnosed with a massive ischemic stroke caused by blood bacteria infection
Mm.
and carotid lining of the valve. And for about 2.5 months in the hospital, regaining to walk and talk and all that stuff all over again. So it's and today too, it's recovery is possible. Going to PT and occupational therapy and speech class for next month is anniversary. It's going to be 7 years. So
Right, April 18th, you said, right? So
yeah,
you're celebrating your stroke with us too.
yeah, exactly right. Exactly right too, right?
Yay.
But yeah, so it's for me looking back to what happened changed my life, but important because I'm alive for a reason too, to
Yes,
to to
yes.
spread awareness and have hope wise too. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But Evan, are there any, oh, you know what, that, Oh, I was a hockey player. Are there any wrestlers you know that have suffered from a stroke? Do you? I'm just asking a question, not
Um,
stuff. So
Wrestling is not conducive for longevity in general. These guys worked over 300 days a year. They were on the road, terrible diets, a lot of stress, trauma to the body. And yes, some of them did have strokes, and it's very rare for a wrestler to make it into their 80s or 90s. It's just a very brutal business,
and it's sad. I wonder what was the name of that documentary that you and Fulvio were working on? 360 days. It's
we did a documentary, 350 days, and the title came from the fact that some of the wrestlers literally were on the road 350 days a year and away from their families and friends. And as a documentarian, I'm hearing your stories today. I think all of you have a book in you, a screenplay in you, a documentary in you, and it could even be a documentary that encompasses all of your stories because it's inspirational, what you came back from, and to have a positive outlook and want to, pass it along to other people, like Renee does every week with her show. I think you should all consider bringing this to the world in a broader spectrum, like books and films and documentaries, because there's a lot of people it would inspire, and even preventative, putting out there what you could do to prevent strokes as well,
yeah,
because
yeah. Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this last time, Evan, right? I think you said to me, and I should get a few stories and just enter them into a book and do a documentary on Netflix. Would be awesome to do a documentary, like one or two stories um, per session.
the ideal length of a documentary is 80 minutes. I've had distributors tell me this, and yeah, what you would do is you interview, let's say, 24 people, and inevitably, some of the stories are really powerful and poignant, and those are the ones you might showcase the most. But if you have 24 interviews in the can, you could really put together an inspiring and powerful documentary. And Renee, you've been doing this a long time. You certainly have 24, potential,
Yeah, yes.
interview subjects, and
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
and, and it's a golden age of documentaries because with so many platforms, you can really get it out there. I mean, it'll get seen.
yeah, yeah,
Really, what you need is the right editor
yeah,
because it's not a matter of stockpiling footage. It's a matter of honing it into a tight, poignant
yeah.
80 minutes. And let me just throw this in. In a documentary, usually it leads to something. So, for example, it could culminate in Renee's concert and where all the people are at the concert and on stage and in some capacity.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I not to pat myself on the back, but I have that eye for grabbing things, and I think it comes from me liking to take photos and doing clips of my shows because you gotta like we do an hour show or I do an hour show or but you have to find that one moment that captures the attention that draws people in. So I would love to work with Matthew and Joanne on that, and maybe we can get Mark.
Yeah, sure.
and hearing your stories today, Joanne and Matt, Joanne's story about having the wherewithal to get herself to a hospital and that's a powerful story. And Matt being so young when it happened to him, that's a powerful story
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
And
So
and the synopsis behind it is every stroke is different.
it's a different
Every
story.
every
That's what I'm
every
saying. For a
yeah,
documentary, it would work.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Every stroke is different, so it's just it's incredible. It's incredible. And I'd asked Evan, and Evan will do this. You'll guide us on,
Well, absolutely. Through the whole
on
process.
yeah, yeah,
And let me add this. You could do a GoFundMe or an Indiegogo, and
yeah,
you have so much goodwill over the years, Renee. You could raise the money to do this.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's we're saying it here on March, what's today's date? March 9th, 2025. How long does it usually take to do a documentary? A year, 2 years?
It's a process. You could film it in a couple of weeks, but it's the editing and
Yeah,
the fundraising and
yeah, yeah.
and the
But
promoting of it.
but you have to hop in to get it going. You have to jump in. You
Oh yeah,
can't.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Look. I've seen documentaries that tear your heart out. I've seen documentaries that are stultifying. Really, you need the right editor, and
yeah,
it would
yeah,
work.
yeah. And the truth is, we could take stuff from my shows too.
Mm.
Because I've had, I can't even tell you how many guests and how many stories on, and doctors talking about it, and it's just like Evan has given us the okay, this has got to be done.
Well, breaking it down to its basics, you would have to say, in all these years, all these guests, all these interviews, which ones
Yeah,
moved me the most?
yeah,
Which ones
yeah,
inspired me the most?
yeah,
And that would be the film
yeah,
or the book or
yeah,
both.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a good. Okay, everybody in,
Yep.
Right.
and we got a wonderful writer, JoAnn, who just writes. But while we're talking about writing, Evan, tell us a little bit about your book. Tell us a little bit about your book and why you wrote it and all that kind of stuff.
My book is Wrestling Rings, Blackboards, and Movie Sets, and the title comes from the fact that I've juggled 3 careers for decades.
So,
I've been an agent in pro wrestling and done other things in pro wrestling. I've been a teacher and I've been a filmmaker. And during COVID, I'm teaching an adult English second language class. I get a call from my boss. We're shutting down because of COVID. I walk to the local diner. The guy says to me, the owner, we're shutting down. We can't make it on takeout. We just can't pay the bills. Your favorite little diner where you're comfortable.
yeah, yeah,
I go to the movie theater. I'm a movie buff. We're shutting down. And, et cetera, so on, the gym, et cetera, and everything that keeps you sane and, was taken away. And, it was depressing. And I just said, it's not healthy. I have 5 friends died during COVID. Speaking of different
exactly.
struggles, 5 friends and others hospitalized and lung damage, etc. Like Renee said, everybody has a different struggle. And I woke instead of going to the gym or instead of going to work or whatnot. I felt like I had an ankle bracelet, like under house arrest, and I woke up every day and wrote. JoAnn can relate to this. Every morning, I wrote a story, and this book is 100+ stories, and a lot of it was putting ghosts to rest, painful things, people you've lost, friends you've lost, family. I don't mean to make it sound all grim because there's
Yeah,
funny
yeah, yeah,
stuff
yeah,
in there, there's
yeah.
inspiring stuff in there as well. But it was very cathartic and really, it made you look at your life differently. Like, for example, I have a piece, Dad was a hero. And as a kid, you don't realize, but my father was in World War II. He was a medic, and he was shot on the battlefield. And because he was Jewish, he did the clerical freeing a concentration camp at the end of the war. And he would say to me as a kid, and I remember it vividly, and this is going back 50 years, he said to me, they were human skeletons. They were human skeletons. And on his wall, and now on my wall that he's gone, there was a painting of him done by one of the prisoners in the concentration camp because they were so grateful that they were released and alive. And so the punchline to the story was Dad was a hero because I didn't realize. And he would wake up screaming when I was a kid. And I'm a little kid. And now they would call it PTSD. Back then, they didn't even have a name for it.
Right.
And Mom would go, don't worry, Dad's just having a nightmare, But he went through an awful lot. And, and then he came back home. And you're still a kid in your 20s. And, he married my mother. And now you're driving a taxi. He never broke 25 grand, and you're not thinking war hero, but
right.
They saved the world. Kids,
Oh
kids. They were 21 years old, well, whatnot,
Oh.
younger. And a lot of his friends didn't come home. They didn't survive. And
Isn't it fun? This is a great show for this. Like, no matter what life throws at me, we all just keep going. You just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other, no matter what happens. A friend, Steve Gutman, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. He does yoga. He does holistic health. He's writing a book. He's been on my show. He's on Facebook, but he actually just did a post this morning, an inspiring post he does every morning about, it's the way you look at things, right? If you look at things in a negative vein, you're going to take it down that road. If you look at things in a positive vein and take the good out of it, then you have to go in that direction. But I understand how challenging it is, especially when you suffered a brain attack like we have, to understand that, to distinguish that what your brain is saying to yourself, because we don't have any control sometimes over our thought patterns, right? As an average person, which it took me a long time to get to understand what was correct to be thinking and what wasn't correct to be thinking after my stroke. I had these difficult times, and I keep going back to Dominic Cortellessa, but he actually helped me defragment my brain to understand, yes, this may be happening, but it's okay. Just this is, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Yes, it happened to you, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to move forward and do? So it's really, and JoAnn, I don't think did you have that at all? Did you have that, because you seemed very clear in what needed to be done. So did you struggle of any of that with your brain attack?
I need to clarify, and I did not put the caveat in there when I should have.
That's okay.
What I did was dumb. Anybody
very dumb. I wanted to say that before, but I didn't want to stop you. Like, if one of your friends were having a stroke.
Yes.
But
don't do what I did.
But the fact that you knew you were having a stroke, because I didn't know I was having a stroke when I had my stroke. I didn't know what was going on. Yeah. But were you able to process things and think about things and to understand things that were being said to you?
Yes. Yeah. And I think a part of it may have been from my training and working in human resources.
Yeah.
Other jobs, because you have to, in situations, say, okay, what would I do if this happened?
Yeah.
And because you're dealing with other people, and all people are different, and you want to be respectful of them and try to help them in whatever situation you're in. So that part of it was easy for me to do. And I was thinking clearly for someone who had an addled mind, but it was not the best thing to do because with a stroke, situations can happen in a second. I could have caused a car accident. I could have had a car accident. Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do is just tell somebody, or if you can call somebody on your phone, or lay down. Somebody
Yeah.
Somebody will do something if they see you laying down. And the only reason I say that is because of something else that happened to me physically. I was walking on a sidewalk and did not realize that the sidewalk was damaged. And because of it, I tripped and fell and broke my hip.
Wow.
And so I was not able to get up or walk. And I was laying on the sidewalk, and maybe about 2 minutes after this happened, a car pulled in and parked not that far away from me. And someone came over who had been in the car and asked me, are you okay? I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm laying in the middle of a sidewalk that's traveled by people all the time. I saw this palm tree and thought it was beautiful and just wanted to lay here and look at it. No, I'm not okay.
And how did the sky look from that view? But what I keep going back to is just the fact when people have a brain attack, a stroke,
Yeah,
they don't know to say, I'm having a stroke. Most people don't.
yeah.
Matthew, tell us a little bit about your thought process when you were going through your stroke.
Yeah, so confusion wise too, after my stroke, uh about maybe 2 or 3 weeks too, didn't say anything too. But before that, um yeah, it's frightening wise too, because you have the ability to communicate wise too, but it's blocked because the brain is different areas wise too. Communication is stolen. So after my stroke, and what went to therapy and occupational therapy and PPT and speech class. So I'm improving each year too, but the pandemic hits, I need therapy. So I decided about my family agreed that a YouTube channel, A Matter of Matt, tells about my story, my journey, and inspiration too. About 2.5 years ago, I met local congressman and the senator, and back and forth conversation for June Aphasia Awareness Month all over New York State. It's pretty good area wise too.
Right.
So I met the senator, and back and forth conversation wise too. So it's official that June Aphasia Awareness Month all over New York State about 2.5 years ago. But I 1 year ago too, I went to County Executive Bruce Blakeman's News 12 covers the event, and I'm speaking and raise awareness for aphasia. I got Broca's aphasia, so non-fluent language.
Right.
So difficult to express my words wise too, but I'm improving each year. So there are 2.5 million in the United States or more dealing with aphasia. So
Mhm.
that's my like the avenue I'm headed to. And this year too, National Aphasia Association. I'm a board member.
Wow,
Uh,
wonderful.
so in January too. So I'm serving for through 3 years. So spread awareness and have hope wise too, and to dive in too. So maybe my stroke campaigns about what happened, and there are circumstance and all that stuff include me, and raise awareness and have hope, because have hope because you got one chance, one life to live wise too, but
Yeah.
there are future plans, but today it's a good day too, so it's a process, right? So
And I love the fact that you both just keep plugging along. You just keep going. You just keep
yeah,
doing, because that's the only way you're gonna get better at anything, right? Training.
sure.
You gotta practice, 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 practice. That's the only way you're gonna get better at anything, whether it's softball or whether it's speaking or whether it's, physical training or whether it's wrestling. No matter what it is, you have to continue to do it to improve and to get better. So, when I've had guests on the show that would have aphasia and would have difficulties talking, I would see their frustration, and that frustration would hinder their ability to speak, because you get all nervous, and we always say to them, relax, like it'll come to you when we'll come back to it. And that's one, Dominic Cordelesa again, that was one thing that he always said to me, think about it, I'll come back, we'll come back to that. And he'd walk away and he'd give me time to process and to think and to gather my thoughts, and he'd come back and say, did you think about that at all? Like, do you have, and if I would go, no, I don't, okay, I'll come back. Like, he never put pressure on me, which is like big, and it builds a bonds and builds a relationship with somebody that gives them the strength, to do that. That's like the Adler's Aphasia Center in Maywood, New Jersey. I don't know if you ever heard of it, Matthew.
Yes.
They are phenomenal. And when I was working at Wanakee Reserve, I had some homeowners that were volunteering there, and I went there and I performed, and I was an advocate there. And Elaine Adler, who her husband Michael had suffered a stroke, and started this center, which they're around the world right now. She actually, I don't know why she did this, but she brought me around the center and she really gave me some back end details about it, what it takes to operate it and how much, and she became a confidant for me. She really became an inspiration to me that, anything's possible. Like, I have a dream of building a recovery center, I mean, I know it's huge. I know it's big. I even see it, and I have this dream of building a huge complex with swimming pools and beauty, and having at the front at the entrance of the door, leave your troubles behind, just come in and just love life and just be free to be yourself without any, and you'll heal faster. And that's why our concert is called the Unconditional Love Concert, because it takes that unconditional love to recover in any aspect of life. And at the Maywood Adler's Aphasia Center, I found that with a lot of people there, that they felt comfortable to be themselves. They felt comfortable to practice. They felt comfortable to paint with their not with their right side anymore, with their left side. So it was a blessing, and it's really life is wonderful. Life is a gift. That's the last line in my book, RenéMarie Stroke of Luck. Life is a gift, because it is a gift. It is a gift. JoAnn, I saw you writing something down. Were you writing it down to share your thoughts with us?
No, just I'm just keeping a whole bunch of notes on everything that I'm hearing, because everybody right now, this is, to me, I think, a wonderful conversation. And it fortifies some of the things that, I felt or done. And hopefully, I've been able to give some things that have helped other people as well. And Evan, in regards to what you were saying earlier, I just wanted to add that when I was in the rehab center, the doctors and nurses would come into the room because they knew I was a writer as well. And they would come into the room and ask me if what they were giving me was helping or not. Because 28 years ago, most of the knowledge in regards to strokes were physical and done for people who were going into the medical field. There weren't a lot of people who had had a stroke that shared their stories from their point of view. And so they encouraged me to write about this. And so I did. I wrote a book called Trapped Within. And it's
Wow.
been out for about 4 years now. And
Mm. I wish, that's another thing. I wish at this concert, like, everybody could have little tables and everybody could sell their books. But that's the next concert because this is only the first one.
Many more, many more.
Anymore. Matthew, did you write a book?
No, well, it's the my friend too. It's the
Oh, that's right. You were in a chapter in a book.
yeah. So maybe in the future, possibly. I got a matter of Matt too. It's YouTube station wise too. So but it's maybe it's the maybe a goal
Mhm.
for me going forward too. But I'm doing good too. And it's a my life for a long time, independence and hard work and dedication wise too. But you realize about what's today task wise too. Tomorrow is tomorrow too. So basically it's a blessing to be alive, and this is a great uh uh space wise too, because what happened, it's changed my life wise too, and you too. So but it's important to talk about that, and share my story and your story too and all that stuff. But it's a process. It's a slow process wise too. So but that's the importance.
That's right. And
Yeah.
I'm happy that that's the direction you're going in and that you understand that. And that's the focus, and if anybody ever tells you or brings to you any different or, just to say thank you so much and just move on, just go past them, above them, go around them. It doesn't matter. Just, be grateful, be kind, be grateful. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Smile
you.
too, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your advice.
Yeah. Move on.
So it's 9:59. I know we'll continue this conversation in a few months. But I want to give you the opportunity to share your last words of wisdom. Evan, you go first. I appreciate, your being in my life and supporting us, and you're a gift. So
Oh,
give
thank you.
a
Same here. If I were to give life advice, I would say practice Tai Chi, Qigong, which I practice, yoga, eat healthy, get a good night's sleep, try to, walk. Being sedentary is very unhealthy. Um, all of these factors could potentially pre prevent certain diseases and unfortunate outcomes, and also surround yourself with mutually supportive people that love and respect you and help others and find some serenity, peace of mind. And ultimately, it's not about how much money you have, it's friends and family and following your muse like Renee does. And Joanne's a writer, and Matt's doing his thing. And it's life is complicated, but sometimes we make it complicated.
Yes.
Life's simple pleasures are what's really important. Yeah.
Yep. That's what I'm working on. I used to be multitask. I still multitask, but I try to work on things compartmentalized, right? When I'm working on something, I focus on that and work on that. I focus on this and work on that. And I just think that there's less pressure on myself. And when that little voice enters, oh, you got to do this, I'm like, okay, I'll do it, but I want to finish this first. I want to complete this to be successful. So that's what 2025 is about for me, to really depart. What is it called? Compartmentalize.
Yes.
Compartmentalize.
Yes.
Matthew, what's your words of wisdom to the world?
Yeah, it's never quit. Don't back down from obstacles too. And be mindfulness wise too. Have hope. You have hope for the future wise too. And you never quit. That's the bottom line too. You never quit. Because what happened changed my life too. But I'm an inspiration wise too, and lots of people too. So pick up the pieces and move on. And my goal is inspire lots of people too. So and have hope, man. Just have hope. I'm blessed to be alive and to be a part of something more too. So
That's
um
very
yeah.
well said. Very well said. And what I'm getting from what you're saying and what from Joanne and Evan is saying, I think on our website we're going to put a family page, and we're going to put links of what you're doing, so we can bring it all together for everybody, so that everybody has one place to go for all inspirations, for all, if all different various things that people need in their lives. Joanne, you're a writer. Matthew, you have a YouTube channel. I want to have all those links. I want to have Evan's link for his book, for that. So that's what's coming to me. So send me your YouTube link, okay, Matthew? I want to have that. Joanne, go ahead. Tell us a little bit.
Well, even as devastating as the stroke seemed to be at that time, I learned a lot from it. A lot of times you just become introspective and reflective on your life, and you sort through the things that are really, really important. And a lot of the things that people stress over, all of a sudden, they just don't have room in your mind and your life anymore. I found that a lot of times when difficult things happen in your life, it's not to pull you apart and to make you a person that can't do things. It's a lesson for you to learn, that you need some of the experience and knowledge from what you're going through to apply to your future. And I know this past year has been a very difficult year for me because my daughter passed away in January, and not this January, but in 24. And so that year was truly a year of grief. And then in October, Milton took my roof and a few other things around the house. So all of the things that I've learned as far as the struggle with my stroke and the never quit that Matt was talking about, I know I brought that with me, and I've been able to apply it. So I've been able to work and get a lot of this stuff done. And the one thing that I hear, and you guys are also right about this, don't try to do everything at once, because then it becomes very confusing and you have no idea where to even begin. So do like RenéMarie said, and just compartmentalize and work on that one thing at a time, and your confidence will grow. And I know for myself, I've met so many absolutely wonderful people that I would not have met if all of these things had not happened.
That's why the show in my book is called Stroke of Luck, because it was a stroke of luck in my life to meet all of you and to have you all in my life. My life would be so different if I didn't suffer a stroke. So it was a stroke of luck in my life. We have to go because it's 10:06 and we have the next show. We'll continue this conversation. Matthew, I'll see you in April. We're so gifted to have you in the world. Know that we're here, whatever you need. Send me your information just so I could log it on. And you know, sometimes we forget that we're live streaming. So I need to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much for joining this show. What a inspiring show full of hope. And I hope that everybody understands that life is a gift. And whatever happens, whatever challenges happen in your life, you have the ability to overcome them, and surround yourself with people that love you and unconditional love. And that will be one of the answers for you to successfully achieve your dreams. And don't let anybody ever tell you that nothing's possible, because anything is possible. Everything is possible. You have one life, like I think Matthew said, and you have to live it to the fullest. You have to live it to the fullest. We have to go on 3. We're going to blow kisses if you feel comfortable. And thank you so much. We'll see you for the next show on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Yo no sé qué tú